everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my weekly deck reviews. So if you are new to this series, I guess you could call it, every Sunday I share with you the decks that I've been working with this past week, what I liked, how they worked for me. I usually read with one tarot and one oracle deck each week, or sometimes even just one tarot. And so I like to share kind of how they read for me. A lot of times these are decks that I'm testing out that are new to my collection, or I am rotating back into decks that I already know and love. So it's really nice to give my thoughts as they sort of evolve over time and that sort of thing as well. Anyways, I'm just going to jump right into it. So this week for my tarot deck, I was working with the Gill Tarot by, I think it's Elizabeth Gill. Elizabeth Josephine Gill. So this deck was out of print for a while and came back into print near the end of 2018. Those are the backs, which I'll be honest, I actually kind of hate, but I'm not somebody to back decks. There may be a time that I really love these backs, but that time has not happened yet. That said, it is the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, so that's cool. But I actually find that this deck is not one that I feel called to read in any way other than simply taking it at face value. Most of the cards have keywords, including the quartz. I think the only cards that don't have keywords are the majors. Yeah. And this deck read beautifully for me this week. It was straightforward. Even the minimalist images in this deck gave me enough information and feeling to get some really good intuitive hits off of the cards. I'm going to hold them over here. That seems better. Yep. Anyways, and I actually did have the opportunity to do several client readings this week using this deck. Just a quick reminder, because I'm trying to get better about saying it, I do actually have readings available on my Etsy shop. You can find me under Supportive Tarot, which is just, there's a link in the description box down below if you ever want to book a reading. But I did have several this week, which was great because it gave me an opportunity to really dig into this deck a little bit deeper, and I just found that it worked really, really well. I don't really have a lot of complaints. I feel like this deck feels to me the way that the Osho Zen Tarot felt like to me, which is, it might have its own perspective, and there is a book that gets a lot deeper into this deck. It looks at it from a Kabbalistic point of view, but I don't feel called to dig into it at that level. I just feel like it wants that. I just feel like working with it exactly the way I would work with any other deck, more intuitively, taking the images at face value. I'm kind of repeating myself, but I just found it to get right to the point. I really enjoyed the keywords, even though some of them are not what you would normally expect. Like I said, I just took it, saw it, pulled the card, and was able to get all that I needed out of that card. So no complaints that way. I really enjoyed it, and I will definitely look forward to reaching for it again. This card, this tower, kind of cracks me up because these people are so out of proportion with the tower, but I still love it. I don't know why. This card, oh, I got this in a client reading and it was so juicy. It had so much to say. Actually, to be honest, they all did. I didn't have any card that I stumbled over or that felt disjointed or out of sync or anything. These read really, really beautifully. So I did not modify this deck. I think the borders in this particular deck are actually kind of helpful because I do think they sort of contain the image, and there are a lot of bold colors, but the images feel spacious enough that I feel like they don't need to be trimmed. I might change my mind on that eventually, but I have seen, I believe Simon has both a trimmed and untrimmed copy, and I did prefer the look of his untrimmed copy. And because they have a white border all the way around on front and back, I didn't feel the need to edge these either. So no modifications to this deck, which is cool. So yeah, this one I'm very happy to have in my collection. I will continue to enjoy rotating into it when it comes up, and yeah, I feel good. I know that I will know exactly when to reach for this deck when the need arises. So that was great. The other deck that I was working with this week, which became kind of a fast favorite in a different way, was these inquiry cards. Now this was a purchase that was sort of by accident because there was somebody in my neighborhood who was selling this and another oracle deck, and I wasn't enthused about this one, but they were both like, I think $5 each or something, and I was like, well, why not? So I picked it up, but it was actually kind of neat. It has the kind of questions that you could simply journal about. You could use this as like a daily journal poll, like writing prompt, easily. I used it as my card of the day prompt. So I would pull the question, focus on the question, and then draw a card for myself. And I found that to be really fun. I'm not the biggest fan of the artwork on this deck with the text because it makes the text pretty hard to see, in my opinion. But I didn't really mind that, and when I'm using it for myself, and I'm not trying to take a picture and show the pretty artwork, then all I do is I lay the card down. I'm just going to show you. I'll lay this card down on like the table, and I'll put the tarot card like right underneath the text like that. And it just becomes almost like I can build my own tarot spreads out of just these cards, which is kind of what I had hoped it would do when I pulled it and talked about it a little bit last week. But the questions are all really good. There is actually, this deck comes as a base deck, and I can't remember how many there are in here, but you can also buy an expansion deck that bulks this up a bit more even from their website, which I think is just Inquiry Cards. Yep, inquirycards.com. The website's right on the bottom of each card. The shape is kind of different and kind of fun. I didn't have any problem like regular rifling and bridging this deck because there are square edges, so I would just split it and rifle it, and I didn't obsess over whether they got all turned around because it's really easy to see which way is up because that's where the question is. So these were fun. I was more head over heels with them at the beginning of the week when the novelty was new than I was at the end of the week. I kind of missed having a proper oracle to play with because this was really just the questions. So not sad to be putting it away, but also definitely excited to have it, and I know where I could pull into this in the future. So I could see myself working these into different client readings as like a closing journal prompt. In fact, I think I did that this week. I did do that this week with one client. I pulled a question at the very end of the reading to cap the reading just to see what would come up for her. And yeah, that was really cool. So definitely we'll be using these again next week. So I am excited next week to be working with two decks that are both newish to my collection. The first one is in this My Elemental bag that Peggy made, which is all embroidered and beautiful. This is the Tarot of Dreams by Chero Marchetti. This was out of print as well for a long time and came back into print, but I don't know when it came back into print. I think this was one of Chero's first decks that he published, and then he did the Gilded Tarot, which I had for a while and then passed along, the Legacy of the Divine Tarot, which I have, and he's done some more independent ones as well, but this one came back into mass market and is at least I think still currently available. It's nice because they're bigger cards. I don't have a standard deck here. Oh, nope, I don't. I have my Mom's Tarot here. I don't have any standard decks within reach, but these are slightly larger than average, which I really prefer slightly larger decks. I don't know why. I have biggish hands, so that doesn't bother me. One thing I really love about this deck is how clear the symbols are that he adds here, for which I think is going to be really useful for study. So you can clearly see the element associated, but you can also clearly see the planets or astrological signs where those are also present. And I think this deck is going to be really useful for me when I am studying tarot and astrology. I do want to finish that book by Corinne Kenner this year. It's one of my goals, so I'm hoping that this deck will be useful for that specifically. But I also really just enjoy decks like this for clean reading. So like a neutral deck. Sometimes I see, well not sometimes, I definitely see Chero's decks having a bit more of a masculine vibe, and I see them as being sort of, I don't know, like I feel like I could read with any client with these. I feel like these are the kind of deck, or this is the kind of deck that the artwork is straightforward. I think that it's classic. So yeah, I really like having a deck like this on hand. Not my favorite Nine of Cups, which is a bummer because Nine of Cups is one of my favorite cards. I love that all of his cups are filled and that they're filled with wine. That kind of makes me happy actually. But the goofy dude face, I mean that's classic Rider-Waite-Smith, so it's appropriate. It's just I have other Nine of Cups I like better. Like the glowy dude and the Two of Coins, to be honest. But yeah, these are fantastic. I will say that one thing that I really like, and I hope I get the chance to play with this week, based on my draws and pulls and stuff, is that this deck also has 4 extra cards. 5 technically. The fifth extra card actually is this Tree of Life card, which is just a reference card. But they have, for each suit of the Minor Arcana, a palace. And as I understand it, this is meant to be like the environment. So if you were to pull the Palace of Coins, then that would tell you that the environment has the same attributes of the suit. Does that make sense? So if you were pulling a work reading and you pulled this, that would make sense, right? And it would also say that, you know, there's, yeah. My thoughts are very disjointed, but it's been a busy day. We had Self-Worth Saturday that we filmed, that I released this morning as a premiere, and Peggy and I did a live, and then we went out and had a bit of a date afternoon, which was really nice. We went and saw Harry Potter Crimes of the Fantastic Beasts Crimes of Grindelwald movie. That was really fun. Yeah, there's another Palace card. Anyway, I love, love, love the backings of this deck, and I did edge this one in black. I think that is the last that my black chisel tip marker can handle. I think it's time for me to get a new one, because I tried to edge another deck tonight and it didn't do as good of a job. So I think it's dying on me, which is super sad. I've edged so many decks in black though, so I can't say I'm surprised. So I'm looking forward to working with this. I'm actually really looking forward to digging into the guidebook, which I will also show you here. The guidebook is written by Lee Burston. And what's neat about this, there's a few things that stood out to me on a flip through. Number one, there is a really nice little reference section here with the Hebrew letters and the astrology that is referenced throughout the deck. There's also an introduction to major arcana that's told in a narrative format, which I really enjoy, and I'm looking forward to reading that. It's just a couple pages long, but I want to read that. And then there is a spread in here that I spotted. Here it is, that I want to play with as well, called the Story Spread, which is a 9-card spread. And it's designed specifically for this deck and is meant to be, yeah, a story. So positions are like what you think, what you get, what you feel, what you deserve, etc. So I'm looking forward to playing with that and seeing what I think of that spread. The Oracle deck that I'm going to be working with this week is Ravynne Phelan's Messenger Oracle. This was on my wish list, and I picked it up near the end of last year, specifically because I knew I was going to be a little bit light on decks this year, and I really wanted this for working with Ravynne's Dreams of Gaia Tarot, which is one of the decks that I'm going to be studying. I spoiled it already, but I did edge the sides of this deck in a slightly brighter than the top or than the back's shade of pear green, but I'm really happy with how that turned out. This deck, I flipped through it a few times, and of course whenever I edge a deck, I get an opportunity to really take in the images, and I have to say, I can't stop looking at these. I think that they're beautiful. They have that wonderful fantasy, vivid fantasy art that you see in the tarot of, or in the Dreams of Gaia tarot. The keyword or the key phrases here are really powerful. It feels very balanced. I mean, change is unavoidable. Do not fear the unknown. They're fantastic. So it feels very balanced. I'm really, really looking forward to playing with it. And I wanted to play with it right away because, again, it is new to my collection. And then this will probably be my go-to oracle whenever I'm working with Dreams of Gaia after that. But then again, I have fewer oracle decks than I have tarot decks, so I will probably also pull this for other purposes as well. But I think the artwork is so gorgeous and otherworldly. And I'm really excited to play with this and see how it reads. So I do not have a box or a bag for this one yet. Peggy is going to be making me one. But the guidebook in this one, I've also had just a quick flip through, so I have an idea of what to look forward to. And for the most part, it's just card descriptions with a little paragraph. But I am also excited to try a spread in this guidebook called, well, there's two that I might play with. But the first one that I'm really excited about is this Gaia Tree spread. So I might try that out. And also there is a soul and, yeah, it's called the Soul and Shadow spread. So I might play with that as well. So we will see what I end up having time to do this week. But this will be the primary, these will be the primary decks I reach for client readings, unless they're specifically readings that I feel like I'm called to use a different deck with. And so hopefully I will have some opportunities to sort of stretch their wings a little bit that way. And I'm really excited to see how these read for me. So that is it for this week. All good. I didn't have anything that was really disappointing about anything at all. And everything performed the way that I wanted it to with the Gill and the Inquiry cards. And I'm just really excited to dig into Tarot of Dreams. And what was the other one? Messenger. Messenger cards. My brain is so fried right now. But I hope you have a beautiful Sunday. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.